Live today is Thursday. I'm not quite sure what date it is. It's 12 p.m. here in South Africa. Welcome. Today we'll be talking about surrendered identity under revealing. We'll be talking about surrendered identity and resilience influence built on yielded purpose. I want to ask you a question that will start this live. Why do capable women hesitate when their assignment seems bigger than what they had prepared for, bigger than they feel ready for? Why do we hesitate to go into the doors that God has opened for us when we believe the assignment is bigger than what we are ready for? I want to tell you the story of Mary. Mary didn't hesitate when her assignment looked bigger than what she had prepared for. I want us to look at surrendered influence, because the most powerful leaders is not always the loudest, is not always the most flamboyant or the most charismatic. Sometimes it's the leaders that just get on with things, that get on with doing things. Those are the ones that have presence and are able to do impossible things because they chose to believe in what God has for them. In the book of Luke 1, we meet Mary, a young woman who was living an ordinary life. She had no platform, no position, no preparation, and what was about to be asked of her seemed and looked impossible for somebody of her stature. She was not a woman of influence by any standard. She was just a young teenage girl who was engaged to Joseph and who was about to start her life as a married woman. Little did she know that she had this big calling on her life. She was not very wealthy. She was not politically connected. She was not publicly well known. Yet, she was chosen for the most significant role and the most significant assignment ever existed in human history. What qualified her was not her CVs, endless CV or endless achievement that she had done. It was her posture of surrender, of yielding, of submission, of humility, that what held Mary in good regard, in high standing. And what does that mean for you and I? I think we have to remember sometimes we disqualify ourselves from doing things because we say we don't have the right connection. We are not well known. We don't know the right people. We were not born into the right family. We are not the right fit. But I'm here to tell you and I that doesn't matter, because what God wants from us is just a surrendered and yielded spirit. When you have that, you have the most important thing. Consider what this assignment would have cost her. And we're talking ancient history, right? It's not like nowadays where you can choose to have a baby out of wedlock. You can choose to do whatever you want. It was not the case. An unexplained pregnancy in a culture like that carried severe consequences for her, not only for her, but also for her family. She also was at risk of losing her engagement. And if you go read carefully in my favorite book in the Bible, the book of Luke, you will see that Joseph, who was her fiancé in today's term, was thinking about ways on how to separate from her quietly without embarrassing her, because it really was taboo for a young woman that's about to get married to say that you are pregnant. And this man has to marry you, and he had every right to do that. At least he was a kind man. If he was a terrible man back then, because women didn't really have much power, he would have exposed her and caused her a lot of harm. But he chose to do it quietly so that she would not suffer any embarrassment or public shame. And that was really kind of him. And the certainty of being misunderstood and labeled and called a whole bunch of things was really high, because you are supposed to be a virgin. What do you mean you are pregnant before you are married? What do you mean you are having a baby? But Mary did not allow the opinions of other people, did not allow, I don't think it even entered in her mind about what are people going to say about her when they find out this about her. She was more concerned about the thing that God had called her to do. It didn't matter what Joseph was going to say. It didn't matter what her parents were going to say, or the society in general, and the cultural relevancy at the time. It was about community, about what her community is going to say about her. This was not a comfortable calling. It was a very costly one. And sometimes God calls us to costly callings, and we're trying to have a conference with everybody in our community to get their approval before we get to do what we believe we have been called to do. What if, when we get the call, we just choose to trust God, the one that has called us, and not worry about what other people are going to say, but choose to follow the one who has called you? Mary did not have a roadmap. She did not have a guarantee about how this calling was going to unfold. There were no assurances that she will not be persecuted or punished or mocked or humiliated. There were no guarantees that the people closest to her would understand the call upon her life. What she was very much aware of was the one who had called her. And for us as women, as yielded women, women of resilience, we need to be those kind of women that our identity is so anchored in who God says we are and in the things that He has called us to do, that we are not worrying about what everybody else is going to do or say about the calling that God has called us to do. The angel tells Mary, "Do not be afraid, Mary. You have found favor with God." And here's what's remarkable. Mary did not yet say yes immediately. She asks questions. She engaged with the angel, the messenger. She thinks about what was being asked of her. She was asking God this. She wasn't asking everybody else. And for you and I, we need to do the same thing. When we feel a call upon our lives, have a conversation with the one that called you, not everybody else. Not everybody is going to understand. Not everybody is supposed to understand. But have a conversation with the one that called you. She didn't say yes immediately, but she was pondering and asking questions, rightly so. But she asked the questions to the right person. And she realized that this is a real assignment. This honest engagement required an honest conversation. And once she understood what was being asked of her, she responded with one of the most anchored responses, statements in the Bible. She says, and I quote, "I am the Lord's servant. May it be done to me according to your word." I think that is so powerful and so brave. When you hear the call, have the conversation with the one that is calling you, not the conference call with everybody down your street, all your friends, all your cousins. They will never understand the call. Instead, have the conversation with the one that has called you. Ask all the questions that you need to ask, like Mary did. And then when you have all the answers, may you and I respond in the same way. "I am the Lord's servant. May it be done to me according to your word. She does not say yes because the path is clear. She says yes because she knows whose she is. Her identity is not built on circumstances or on the outcome. It is built on belonging. She knows who she belongs to. And that belonging stabilizes her in the face of the impossible. And for you and I, maybe you are feeling called to start a business, to do something nobody in your family has ever done, to start a school, to have more children. I'm so glad I'm not being asked to have more children. To have more children. I love my children. I just have capacity for 3. To have more children, to create this product that you've been sitting on for so long. And yet, you are looking for approval from everybody else and you are missing the call. What if you were to have a conversation with the one that called you and understanding that the path before you is not going to be clear? You are not going to have all the answers. You are not going to have everything you need in order to start that path. But here's one thing you can always count on, is that you let the fact that you belong to God, let the fact that He called you, let that stabilize your identity and your sense of belonging so that you can begin to walk in the things that He has called you. You can face the impossible if you know whose you are. You can do that. You can face anything because you are not alone. And the assignment, you didn't go find the assignment was given to you. And because He's given you the assignment, you can do anything. So may our answer when there's a call be, I am the Lord's servant. May it be done to me according to your word. This yes was not a passive one. She understood the risks. It was not resignation. She was like, okay, no. It was a response. It was not a response of a woman who had no other options. She could have said no. She could have. But she chose to trust God. How many times have you said no to God and has it worked out in your favor? I want to ask you that. Has it worked by you saying no to God? She chose surrender. Her answer was a chosen surrender made from a place of deep trust, enough trust, deep trust that held the weight of the future. She didn't know how everything was going to work out, but the trust that she had in God could hold her in that moment because she was just walking step by step. She didn't have to know the whole street or the whole road, the whole way. She just had to say yes now, surrendered enough that her trust would carry her to the next thing because she knew whose she was and that He is capable of keeping His promises. She couldn't see how Joseph would have responded. She couldn't see how the community would have responded. She had an idea because she grew up in that community and she knew how they treated people that made these decisions of having children out of wedlock. She knew, she had an idea, but she chose to trust God to take care of that. She couldn't see what the road ahead required of her, but she knew that the one who has chosen her knew what the road required, and she was the right person for that road. She said yes anyway, without all the clarity. One thing she was clear about is who called her and why He called her, and He chose her. So her identity was stabilized, her security was stabilized. She was anchored in the one who called her. It's not because she wasn't afraid. Make no mistake. She probably was afraid. But her identity was anchored in something that is stronger than her fear. Have you allowed your fear to overtake the call that is upon your life? Have you allowed fear to get in the way of you starting that business? Have you allowed fear to get in the way of going back to school? Have you allowed fear to get in the way of you starting a YouTube channel or posting or whatever it is? Have you allowed fear to get in the way of the call that is upon your life? Her identity was anchored in something much stronger than her fear. May your identity be anchored in something bigger and deeper than your fear. That is identity stability under pressure. Under pressure, she stood on what God called her. She stood on that. Her trust in God, not because she believed in her own power, but because she knows the one she believes. Mary's yes changed the course of history. She said yes to the one who called her. Without the knowledge of everything, she saw the risk, but yet she chose to not look at the risk to hold her back. Don't reduce her to a person who was just passive. No, she knew what she had decided and she knew what it was going to cost her. She was a woman who carried her assignment with dignity, with courage, and with extraordinary steadfastness and steadiness over the years. Not just simply a moment, because she had been called to carry the Messiah. I am a mom. I cannot even begin to imagine that you birthed this child and you know the end. And I know we're all going to die one day, but she knew what kind of brutal death he was going to experience. She pondered the call, everything you can read in the book of Luke. It says she pondered the things that people said about the son. She preserved them. She stood at the cross with her son when others fled. Her influence was not loud, but it was immovable. Are you a woman of immovable influence? Or do you want to become a woman of immovable influence? It's possible. To be that woman, you have to become like Mary, where we are not seeking approval from everyone. We seek approval from the one who created us, the one who has called us. When he gives us an assignment, we say, I am the Lord's servant, may it be done to me as you have said. When he calls us to do something that is crazy, that is unknown, that has never been done by anyone in our family, we don't call a conference call to ask for everybody's approval. No, we do not do that. We just get on with it, knowing the risk, the criticism, and everything that comes with it. May we be like Mary. Because some assignments are designed beyond you, so that when you begin to do what you're called to do, so when you begin to do that assignment, it's not dependent on who you are as a person. Some assignments, I'm going to repeat that, some assignments are designed to be beyond you, so that what carries you cannot be your own competence. Mary shows us that surrendered identity is not weakness. It is the most powerful posture available to a leader. when your identity is surrendered to the one who has called you, your posture is that one of humility, because you realized that you know nothing, but you know the one that knows everything, and he has called you, and that's more than enough. You do not need to have all the answers before you say yes. You do not have to see the full picture before you take the first step. You do not have to be afraid in order to move. What you need to know is whose you are, because that is what is going to hold you when the road becomes uncertain. Not your competence, not your capability, not how powerful you are. Whose you are is going to hold you when the road becomes uncertain, when the calling seems crazy, when your whole community is attacking you, when your friends are laughing at you. Think about Noah. Noah was building this boat. It hadn't rained. Nobody had ever seen rain, but he heard the call. Noah did not go ask everybody, hey guys, do you think I should build a boat? I mean, have you ever seen the rain? What do you think about the rain? He was not chasing everybody's opinion. And as women, we do that all the time. We hear the call and we go seek everybody's approval instead of stabilizing our identity and who is calling us, not because of our competence, not because we are capable, not because we see the full picture, but because he has called us. That stabilizes us. You just need to know whose you are, because that's what will hold you. Not people's approval, not your own approval at that. Even, in fact, not even your own belief that you can do this. Not even your own belief that you can do this, because you cannot. You can't. But in God you can. So can we stop being women that ask for permission when God has called? Maybe women like Mary that say, you have called, I say yes, let's get on with it. Even approval, why do we seek approval from everybody? We cannot seek approval from anybody. Mary didn't. Before I ask you this question, I want you to consider something. There's a difference between wisdom and fear, between waiting on God and avoiding the call, between humility and the refusal to occupy the space you have been given. There's a huge difference. So, what assignment have you been saying to not yet because it feels too big, too costly, or too uncertain? Which assignment has God called you to do and you're saying no to? And what do you think you can say you can say no to the creator of the universe, the one who created everything, the one who gives you breath in your lungs, and you have the audacity to say no to him because you are afraid of people? Do you see how silly that is? The one who can take your breath away, you say no to him because you want the approval of people that cannot give you breath. I want you to think about that. Where are you waiting to feel ready for something that was never designed to feel comfortable? You want to feel ready for discomfort, but it was not designed to be comfortable. So what are you going to do? What am I going to do? Am I going to wait until it's comfortable when the very design of it was to be uncomfortable? What would happen if you start doing the things you are called to do from belonging rather than capability? What if you start saying, I can do this because God has told me to do it, not because I'm capable, but because He's called me to do it, therefore I can. Do you see how powerful and unshakable and resilient and anchored you will be in your identity, in the call, and the one who has called you, because it has nothing to do with you. You are just a vessel. Just a vessel. Mary did not wait until the path was clear. She did not wait until she fully understood what the call was and what it entailed. She did not wait until the cost felt manageable. She knew whose she was. She said yes from that place, and her influence is still being felt today because it was never about her. Here's why. Because identity stability under pressure produces resilient influence. Go be unstoppable, not because of who you are, because of whose you are. That's what's going to differentiate you from everybody else.